Hey everyone, welcome back to the ManiMorphs, where we do coding, we talk about the coding technologies, tools, and we do things around coding. Today we are going to talk about a tool, MkDocs, that is a static site generator and a Python-based library. We will also talk about the different types of static site generators, those are available, and then we'll generate a static site, and then we deploy that site to GitHub Pages. So here's the plan. So we will install MkDocs first on our machine. Then we configure the MkDocs like the site, like the title or the logo or the favicon icon and pages, images, and then we will test that site by running the local server. So we'll also see how to run the local server for the MkDocs. Then we will create some pages, some sample pages with a markdown. So you will also see like what is the markdown and how we can use the markdown to create the websites or the simple websites. And then we will configure a theme for the MkDocs that will be the material theme. And then we will implement or we will see all the different features of the material theme, and then we will customize our CSS to have a different UI, and then we will deploy that site to GitHub Pages. Okay, so let's start with the MkDocs first. So this is the MkDocs homepage. Uh, it is the fast, simple, and downright gorgeous static site generator that is geared towards building projects documentation. So basically, the static site generators are good for creating the project documents. Like you have a library and you want to create the documents, so you don't want to, write the HTML, CSS for each of the things. Like you just want to create the documents, right? So the MkDocs provide the facility of doing that. Like you can create a site uh, using Markdown. So first you need to understand what is Markdown and how it is different from the HTML. So Markdown basically gives you a functionality to format your plain text, like you write the text on the Microsoft Word. So it just gives you a functionality to format your plain text that will render uh, as the HTML on the web page. So that is different from the Microsoft Word. Like in the Microsoft Word, you also write the plain text, and then you pick the text and you just format it using the tools like the heading, like the italic, like the bold and all. In the Markdown, you don't have any tools. You have to just write the syntax for formatting your text. Like if you see this example, the headings. So there are 6 types of headings available in the Markdown, like the heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That that will render similar to the HTML. So in the HTML also there are tags like H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. And in the Markdown we have 6 type of heading formatting, and it is really easy. Like for formatting the heading, you just have to add a hash at the start, and you can create or you can increase the hash number to create different type of headings. Like for one hash for heading 1 or H1, 2 hash for heading 2 or H2, 3 hash for H3, 4 hashes for H4, and 5 for H5, and 6 for H6. So this is like when you write the Markdown, it will not blot it you like by the tags. It will still look like a document. So it is easier to use for the people who try to just who wants to write only the document, not the HTML, or who are not familiar with the HTML CSS. So for them, it is really good for them to create the documents for their library or for their project or for their notes also, right? So this is the Markdown, and we will see what we can do with the Markdown syntaxes, or what are the limitations. So we can create the headings. Then uh, these are the alternate syntax. We can also create two types of heading, h1, h2, using which, and then the paragraphs. So for the paragraphs, uh, you have to create, or you can just break your line, and then from a new paragraph, or from the new line you can start new text, and it will render as a different paragraph. In HTML, you write as p tag, and you create a p tag every time when you have to create the paragraph. But here in the Markdown, uh, you have to just add a new line, right? Then we have the line breaks. You have to just uh, add your text in the new line, and it will be break, right? So the output is rendered in a new line, right? In the HTML, you add a break tag, br tag. Then for bold text, you just add two stars at the start and at the end of the text, right? And it will create the text into the bold, right? Then we have the italic. For the italic, we just add one star, um, and that will render your output or the text as italic. Then we have the block quotes. For block quotes, you have to just use the greater than symbol, and it will make your text as block quote, right? Then there are nested block quotes too, so you can add um, like two, and it will nest inside the first one, right? The next is lists. So there are two types of lists, ordered and unordered. The ordered list having the numbers like the 1, 2, 3, 4, and unordered have the dot note only. So for creating the ordered list, you have to just write the numbers like one dot and space. Space is really mandatory to render the output, else it will not work. So one dot and space, and the list will start, and then you follow the number sequence like 2, 3, 4, and it will create a render output as list. Then for the unordered list, um, you have to just add a dash and space, and it will create an unordered list, right? You can also nest the list, so you have to just add a tab, and uh, then you can start adding the nesting list using the dash inside the numbers. Also, you can nest similar to this one, right? You need to have one indent only. After the list, we have code blocks. So if we have to create a document about some coding library, we have to use the code, and we can add the code like in two ways. In the line itself, like inline code, and then we can write code separately in a block, like if there are multiple lines. So the inline code, we can use the backticks, single backtick, and for multiple line codes, we use the triple backticks, and at the end we also end with the triple backticks. So it will be for the multiple code lines. We will see that in practical. Then we have a horizontal rules. So basically, for creating this line, like the horizontal, or a brick, you can use these three dots, three dashes basically, or three asterisks, and it will create a line like this one. Then we can create links also in Markdown document. So for creating the links, you have to use this way. So first you have to create a square bracket. Inside the square bracket, you add the label for the link, and then just after the square bracket, you have to create the parenthesis, and inside the parenthesis, you add the link, and then the link will output like this. So the label will show on the screen, and that will have the link that you have added in the parenthesis. And you can also create the URLs and email addresses quickly using just the angle brackets. So inside the angle bracket, when you write the website address or email, it will directly create those links. And there are also images. So for the images are similar to the links. You have to just add a exclamation mark just before the square bracket, and then the link will be ready for the adding the images. That's it you can do with the Markdown. So this is all for creating the documents, I think, or it is enough for creating documents. Um, so various like various tools or various websites um, uses the Markdown. So it is the industry standard basically. So all the places, all the libraries basically you see for any programming language, like if you see the library for Rust, if you see for the npm, if you see the Python library, all are creating the documents using the Markdown. So that is the impact of Markdown. And now we will talk about the MkDocs again. So MkDocs uses the Markdown to create the pages, and then the pages will generated the HTML, and that HTML is basically the uh, static pages. So MkDocs create the static sites using those pages rendered through the Markdown, right? So that's why it is called as a static site generator. And now we will start installing the MkDocs, and we will see how it works in machine, and how we can run the local server, and how the web page rendered. Okay, so let's start with the getting started button. Okay, so getting started with MkDocs. First is the installation. So for installing the MkDocs, we have to run this command pip install mkdocs, and you must have Python installed in your system before using that. So I assume you have the Python, or if you don't have, just to follow the documentation from the Python website to like how you can install the Python on your machine. Okay, so we'll start with the installation of the mkdocs. So you have to copy this pip install mkdocs. Okay, pip install mkdocs, and I have already installed mkdocs in my machine, so the requirements already satisfied, right? Then for creating a new project, we use this command mkdocs new and project name. So let's start mkdocs new, and the project name is my project. You can give whatever name you want to give, and then cd my project, and let's open inside the VS Code, and we'll see what what are the folders and files it has created. So after running the new command, mkdocs created some files and directories, like the first one. This is the mkdocs.yml, that is the main file, and this is the configuration file where you do all the configuration for the title of the website, for the logo, for the favicon, and you also index all the pages. You add the CSS, you can also add your JS file and other scripts, like whatever configuration you can do, you have to do it here. Then you have a docs folder where you add the files. So like every file you have to create inside the docs only, cause mkdocs find the files inside docs only. So whether it is the CSS, whether it is the JS or the pages itself, you have to create inside the docs file. The first file that has been created while the project initiation, that is the index.md. So when we the index.md, basically when you run the server at start, so it will be available on the home or in the index root. So basically when it uh, runs the server, it rendered this index.html file as the and converted it to the index.html, and these syntaxes will then have rendered as the HTML tags, right? All right. And for running the server, you have to run this command mkdocs serve. So when you run this command mkdocs serve, it creates it serves the document or the website on your localhost uh, with the port 8000. So when you follow this address, localhost 8000, you see the website is available here, and that the index.md file that you have seen is available as the index root or in the index root. So the h1, the h2, the headings, or sorry, the lists, and so on. Okay, so after creating a new project and after running the local server, we will change our site name first. Right now, the site name is MyDocs, and we will change that from the mkdocs.yml. So from the mkdocs.yml, the site name you can change as my project, right? Save it, and the changes will automatically being reflected on the website. So you can see the title has been changed to my project, and here you can also see the changes. Okay, after site name configuration, this is the main feature, the adding pages, because we have to host our pages. So we have to create the pages that we want to list. Like these are you see on this website, getting started, home, user guide, or developer. These are all the pages, right? The different pages. So similarly, we have to create pages for our content, and then we have to index our pages to show on the website, right? To index the pages, you have to use this one, this way, like nav, and inside the nav key, you have to list, create the list of your documents, right? So the label will be adding, you have to add here, and then using the colon, you can list the page where it is, okay, or the page location. Let's create about page by ourselves. So for adding the page, you have to create page inside docs, right? So inside docs, you can create a folder like pages, and then we can have a file called about.md. Okay, then we will add some markdown inside this. So this is a main heading or heading 1. Then this is subtitle, and then we have a list. This is list item 1. This is list item 2. Then one ordered list. This is ordered list item 1, and then this is ordered list item 2. Okay, that is some sample markdown, and then we have the page, but we haven't indexed yet. So now we have to index. So for indexing nav key, and then we have to use the dash for creating the list of the navigation pages. So our first page is home page, that is index.md inside the docs. So all the files are must be inside the docs. So the index.md directly inside the docs. So we have used the index.md. The next page is about page, and that is inside the pages, right? So pages, and the file name is about.md, about.md, and we have created a page, and we are now indexing for the navigation. So now go to the website, and we see about navigation link just next to the home. So home is this one, the index, and then the about, we have our page that we have created. So the first heading, the second heading, the title, and then the ordered, and then it must be ordered, but we have done might be something wrong. So what it is, one dot. Okay, so we needed the breaker or the horizontal rule, because it is including these as ordered, unordered. So you have to break it, or you can also create another heading like the ordered list, and then it will be rendered as the numbered list. Okay, this is the unordered. Okay, cool. So we have indexed our page, the about page, and so this is how we use or create the pages and index. So this is a really easy way to create a document, right? We don't have to create any HTML. We don't have to add any CSS. The CSS you can customize also, but we don't have to write the CSS inside the documents. This is like the simple document we write in the diary, or we write in the WordPad, right? Okay. The next is, after adding pages, the next thing is theming our documentation. That is also a main part, because we have or we can have different styles for our documentation. So this is the by default style, and you see here the whatever heading you create, it just appears here as the table of content, right? Similarly, in the home, the table of contents appearing at the left side, right? The welcome to MkDocs, commands, and project layout. These are the headings. But with the theming, you can also change your documentation style, and MkDocs provides some theme by default, like this one, the read the docs. So if we use now this doc theme, so the document will be look like this page, right? So for adding the themes, you have to add the theme inside the theme key. So just copy the read the docs, and in the mkdocs.yml, we will use this key theme and put the value read the docs, save it, and it we don't need to do any changes. It will change our page style, right? So this is the theming power. After theming, we have option to change our favicon icon. So MkDocs uses the MkDocs favicon icon like this one, the book kind of icon that you see is provided by the MkDocs, and you can change this one, whatever icon you want to use. So for creating the favicon icon, basically you can add your favicon ico file inside the docs. Okay. So for now, we are done with installing MkDocs, configure MkDocs, run local server, and make some pages with the Markdown. And now we have to configure the material theme. So read the docs theme is provided by the MkDocs, but we are not going to use this one for our documentation. We are going to have a different theme, that is the material theme. So in the MkDocs project catalog, you can see different themes available for the MkDocs, like the material or the Cinder or the terminal for MkDocs. So different themes are there. You can use any of them. Like the material for MkDocs, this is the popular one, and we are going to use this one only. So the page will look like uh, the material UI developed by the Google. For using the material theme, we have to first install this package mkdocs material. So I have already done that, but so you have to paste this command mkdocs material and run it. I already have. So you have to install this package to use the material theme, and then inside the theme key you have to use this material. So theme, and instead of read the docs or the mkdocs, we will use name as material, and it will change our website to material just after changing the theme. And this has been changed. So this is our my project site, the home page, the about page that we created. And this is really a good theme. That's why I have been using, because this theme also provides a different functionality that we will see. And the theme page, like here at the left side you have the navigation links, in the between this is the content part, and at the end, or at the right side, the table of contents for the page, right? So the heading, then the second or third heading, so you can see at the right. Okay, so after installing the material theme, we will see now what are the features that material theme provides. Let's open the documentation for the material, MkDocs material. So we are done with the installation part. We have also created our site using the MkDocs, and publishing we will do at last. Let's start with the customization part. So the first is adding assets. So how you add the assets? So if any additional CSS you want to add, so you will create a style sheets folder inside the docs folder, and then you can add extra CSS, right? And then we can add the JavaScript too, and then we can extend our theme like by configuring the mkdocs.yml. So first add some sample page, so we can also test the CSS and JS, right? So let's start with so I have created one page for math documentation, so we can have different styles for the markdown, and then we will have math formula. So we'll see how it will work in our website. We are going to have new pages. So page first will be like math.md, and then we will have a new page that will be code.md. So we are going to have two files, so we can check a different plugins for the material theme. So we are removing the about page, we don't need that one, and also remove from the navigation index. And now add these two. So math is inside the pages, math.md, and then we have a code inside the pages, code.md. Save the file and see how our website looks now. The home page is similar. Then we have the math. Now we have to copy some data inside the math document. So open the math.md, paste the data copied from, or you can generate some content for your documents. So I have added some content in the math.md file and the code.md file to just show how much powerful is the material theme. In the math.md file, I have added the math formula. So you will see how it will render with the material theme, and then we have the in the code.md file I have added some diagrams, so material theme also can render the diagram. For the math, there is a library called MathJax that material theme supports. So using the MathJax, it renders the math formula really good. So right now we haven't integrated those functionality with the material theme. So without these, we will see first like how our page looks for the math and the code. Just go to the our site. This is the math notes we have added, and the text is okay. The headings are okay. The bold, italic, block quote lists all are working. The code blocks is working, but the formula you see, these are not rendered properly. You cannot see properly what it is, right? Similarly, in the code, all the markdown syntaxes are working properly. The headings, the block code, the list, the code block, not the diagram is rendered, and links are also working. Okay. So the thing is, Markdown itself has been complete package to support the basic documentation. But if you have to extend the functionality, like you want to create the notes for your mathematical work, or you want to create some documents for data flow or physics or some else, so you cannot use that with the markdown. You have to extend the markdown, but it can be extended easily with the material theme in using the mkdocs. So we'll see how it will change now. Okay, first we have to customize it. So basically we are going to add some css. Now we will see how we can add any additional CSS if we want. Like if you want to modify some of the parts that you don't like, so you can make your own CSS and add to your application. For doing that, you can have your CSS file inside the docs directory, and then you can add the location of the CSS file in the extra CSS key. And by doing that, you will extend your CSS for the web page. And I have one CSS file where there are some changes regarding the H2 heading, H3 heading, unordered list, and block code and code block. So I'm going to put this in a CSS file. So for doing that, I have been creating a folder style sheets, and the style sheets I am going to create one file like the extra.css, and then put all the contents from the CSS that I have, and then save the file. Then the mkdocs configuration, uh, put the key extra CSS, and then your location of the style sheets, so that is inside the style sheets and extra dot css. So I have been not saving that file for now. Just see how it looks without adding the style sheets. So right now our application or our page looks like this. The simple all in black, gray. The code block is this. Unordered list looking like this. Okay, now I'll save this file after adding this extra configuration for CSS. Save the mkdocs.yml, and now we have uh, we have changed our UI. So now the heading look like this, the H2, H3, and the a code looks like this, or the list, actually the unordered list looks like this, and then the code blocks look like this. So this way you can add your CSS inside the MkDocs, and you can change the UI look. Okay. Next we will talk about the material MkDocs references, and inside the references there are a lot of things you can do using the material theme, like the tooltip, like the buttons or the code blocks and the data tables, so, and the diagrams and a lot of things you can do. And we are going to have implement two things. Those are the math formulae. So right now our math formula looks like this. These math formulae actually written in the latex, but we have a library, the JavaScript library, that is called the MathJax or the KaTeX, and with that we can show the math formula on the web screen or the web page. um, so for doing that, like implementing the MathJax or the KaTeX in the MkDocs, so material theme already provide the implementation of these inside the theme. You have to just activate the configuration, and for doing that, what you have to do, you have to just add this um, JS file, and then in the MkDocs configuration, you have to um, add this extension, the Markdown extension, that is arithmetics, and then the JS file or the this file we have to include in the extra JavaScript key. Okay, so one by one we will do. There are two libraries actually for supporting the math formula, that is the MathJax and the KaTeX, and the fastest one is the KaTeX, that is also lightweight, so I'm going to use this one. So from the MkDocs references, this URL, just we have to copy this JS script, so copy into the clipboard, and inside the docs we will create a folder JavaScripts, and then we will create a file katex.js where we will post this clipboard. So just do that. Inside the docs, create a folder JavaScript, and the JavaScripts just create a file katex.js, paste the clipboard, save it, and now we have to activate the KaTeX plugin. So for doing that, we have to add this extension, the Markdown extension, and then we have to add the JavaScript file that we just added inside here in this location, and then the KaTeX library we have to import from the CDN link. So copy that, and also we have to implement the KaTeX CSS too. So copy these all and paste in the mkdocs.yml. Okay, so Markdown extension we have added the extra JavaScript, so we have the JavaScripts and katex.js in place here, and the extra CSS we already have this key as we have implemented our own CSS, but we also have to include the KaTeX CSS. So copy this one and add it here. Okay, so now we have two CSS, our own CSS for changing the UI element, and for the KaTeX CSS for the math formula supports. Save this file, go to the math page again, and now you see the rendered math formula. Now it looks really like you see on the books, so it's just rendered like that. So the MathJax library or the KaTeX library you can use for rendering the math formula on the web page. It is not only supported in the MkDocs, it is supported everywhere. You can use those library for your other application too, but the MkDocs or the material theme for MkDocs by default supports the implementation for the KaTeX and MathJax, so you can just activate and use that. So right now our math codes are looking really good, so you can create the math nodes now.
It's really easy. um, Next, just look our code page. So our code page, um, the we don't have math nodes here, but we have the diagram. So math, for the math formula we have added the implementation. Now we will add the implementation for rendering the diagram. Just what you have to do, you have to activate this feature also. So when you click on the diagrams part in the references in MkDocs, so how you can implement that, you have to add the extension. You can do it by copying this extension. So copy the extension from here, go to the Markdown extensions list and add one more extension. So save it, and now we will see our diagram has been rendered from the Markdown.
So how this thing is exactly working with the text only? We have just written the text here inside the code block, and this has rendered as the diagram. So what it is? So material theme is supporting the MathJS library. The MathJS library is the library based on the JavaScript runtime, and it supports to render the diagrams based on Markdown text. So if we see the library here, this is the page, the website for the MathJS, and there are different type of diagrams you can use with the text only, like the flow diagram. You have to just write the text and it will create the diagram for you or rendered on the web pages that you have. The sequence diagram, you can create the class diagrams by just adding some of the text, and this is really easy also. It's not like difficult thing to learn. You have to just add the notation like the class diagram, or you have to just add the notation like the sequence diagram, and using the simple formatting or simple syntaxes you can create the diagram. So there are a lot of different types. Entity relationship diagram you can make, the Gantt chart, the pie chart you can make, and all the different charts you can explore by yourself. This is the website, and each of the chart you can uh, create and render on your MkDocs project. So it is really good, and the material theme for the MkDocs by default support the MathJS. You have to just activate the extension using this configuration, and the MathJS will be run for you. Um, for more diagrams, you just check out the MathJS documentation, and you are good. So it's really easy thing, and you can have when you are creating your documentation for the math nodes or the physics or whatever nodes, or the code architecture and all. So most of the times you have to have the needed the diagram to put on, so you can use that one. You don't have to create the SVGs. You don't need to upload your media files or the images file to some storage website, and then you can use. So it is really easy. You have to just write the text this way, and the text automatically will be generated to the diagram. So that was about the mammoth. It's awesome actually.
Now, the last part is to deploy this site on the GitHub pages. So, what are the GitHub pages exactly? GitHub pages are basically you can host your website in the GitHub pages for free, but these have some limits. The bandwidth limits, cause it is just for the open source project mostly. So, like the Bootstrap, so Bootstrap is an open source project, so they can, or if you have any open source project, you can host your documentation for the project inside the GitHub pages, and it is completely free. But there are some bandwidth, so you cannot use it commercially. There are some limit on those, and you can also not use it for your private projects or where authentication is needed, cause it is basically the public's public pages, it's for the public pages, so you don't have to add any private information in the GitHub pages. um, so for this project we are going to use the GitHub pages because most of the times we need our documents to host somewhere to see like from anywhere, and we don't require the proper domain, or we don't require the hosting, or like we don't need that, but we just want to show our documents to someone, or we want to share our documents to public, so they can also learn from the same documents. Or if we have the project, so uh, you need to show like what are the libraries, or how the library works, and what are the modules, like how people can use those. So you need the documentation for that, so you can host the documentation on the GitHub pages. For doing that, you can follow the instruction from here, but with the MkDocs, we have a really good implementation MkDocs provided. Like you don't need to do all these bulky things by your own on the GitHub. There are implementation available for the MkDocs to deploy the things directly from using the command. So if you go to the MkDocs, and in the MkDocs there are deploying your docs. So it gives you just one command to deploy your page or the use documentation on the GitHub pages using the mkdocs deploy. But for doing that, first you have to uh, you needed one GitHub repository, and you can create the repository from your account. So I'll create one repository first. So I have been creating a repository for my project, and it must be public, because GitHub pages only supports the public repository. So make it public, and then don't need to add anything, just create the repository. Okay, then we have the project initiated already, so it is the existing project we have. So we have to just add the git remote, and before that we need to initialize our project with the git. So git init, and then add the remote, and then we need to add the commit. We need to add the changes first. Git add dot, and then um so what we have to do, we have to add one git ignore also. And the git ignore we will add the site, cause what will happen, we have to build, we can also build our project. So mkdocs build command, using this command you can build the project locally and see how all the elements has been generated, or the whole site generated by the mkdocs here inside the site directory. But we don't need to push this directory to the GitHub, so that's why I have added the git ignore and added this folder, so it is accessible only in the local. It will not be pushed when we push our code base to GitHub. Okay, now we'll commit all those changes. So we have added the changes, git add all. Then we need to commit my project documentation using mkdocs. Okay, we have added the commit. Now we already have added the remote, so we can push those changes to main. So git push origin main. Okay, and our code base has been pushed to GitHub. Now we can use uh, the the command for deploying the documentation to the GitHub pages using the mkdocs gh deploy. So when we run this command, what it will do, so just run the command. So it first build the documentation inside the site directory, then it uh, then it commit all the changes, and then it pushed the changes, the build changes to the new branch, that is gh pages. And every time when you run this command, it will fetch, it will basically commit the new changes and push to this branch only. So basically this branch will have all the generated site, okay, like this one. So this site consists of index.html, the style sheets, pages, JavaScript, and all those changes that is required. So this is basically the static site, and the mkdocs gh deploy command um, build in this format the static site and push all the changes to this branch, gh-pages branch, and that branch we can then use to host our pages on GitHub. So we have pushed our whole static site to gh pages using the mkdocs gh-deploy command. Now what you have to do, you have to just go to your repository, okay, and so the deployment is already being done by the gh deploy command, and you can see now your website here. So it the URL will be your username .github.io and your repository name. So when we click on the URL, so your documentation site that was in the local has been pushed to GitHub pages, and now you can see your documentation from anywhere, okay. But the repository must be public. So these are publicly accessible documents. That's why you don't need to put your private information inside these documentation, because this is, mostly people use the documentation for public work or for the open source projects. So that's why you don't need to add any private information there, right? Cool. So our documentation site is live, and just revisit whole plan what we have done so far. We have installed the mkdocs, we have configured the mkdocs like the site name and all. Then we are running the server locally. Then we made some pages like the math page, the code page with the Markdown. We have also seen how Markdown works and what are the syntaxes, like how you can create your Markdown file. Then we have configured the theme using the material theme for the mkdocs, and then we have implemented the material theme features, like we have also customized our css. Then we have added the math formula supports, and we have added the support for the diagram rendering, and then deployed our static site to GitHub pages using the mkdocs gh deploy command. And that commands basically what it does. So when you run the command, it creates a new branch gh pages, and then it generates your static site, and then push all those static site content to this branch, and automatically create a flow, a action inside the GitHub to deploy your branch to GitHub pages, where you can see your static site documentation. So that was all about the mkdocs deploy and all about whole mkdocs thing. Now you can implement more things that are available inside the material mkdocs references. So if you want to extend your documentation, so you can add using the references, like you can add the annotations for your document. You can add the data tables, you can add the different code blocks if you want, and the grids you can also make inside the documentation like these. Different type of things are available. You can use whatever is your requirement. My requirement was to host the to show how you can upload your math documentation, how you can render the diagrams for physics or math, whatever. So that was all about the MkDocs. There are other type of static generators too that you can use and supported by the GitHub Actions, like the Jekyll. Jekyll is by default supported by the GitHub Pages. You can use the Jekyll that is based on the Ruby. Then there is a Hugo from the Golang, and a lot of different types of static site generator from the JavaScript library too. The most famous is the Gatsby. I have personally used this one, and this is really awesome. You can use this one too. Might be I'll have some other series too using other tools like the Gatsby or the Jekyll or the Hugo. And you can also explore different type of static site generators available in the GitHub collections sections. So that was all for today, and see you in the next.